loved that one. They start yelling to tear down the sign and calling the young man waving it a dirty communist. Looks like a fight is breaking out. Then later that day, this sort of thing gets worse. I get out of my train with Pat, and there are more bastards waving signs about poor Nixon and throwing pennies and nickels at my head. They've dressed up like blind beggars, which really wasn't that funny except to them. Some even came up and shoved me. I'm in a small-scale war. I remember just a few days ago, winding down a speech, I watched these guys break from a car looking like hoodlums and run towards my rally screaming out, "Tell us about the $16,000. They didn't even have their numbers right. It was more like 18,000. But I didn't care about that. Damn train had started to pull out, and I turned around, gripping the rail to keep steady, and screamed, "Hold the train! Hold the train!" It lurched to a stop a football field's length from the station, and I'll tell you, there is nothing like watching a crowd of people, friend and foe, running straight at you. I looked out at the faces and found that man who had been doing the yelling, and boy did I let him have it. I pointed right at the bastard and explained the situation. You folks know the work that I did investigating communists in the United States. The crowds cheered at that. Ever since I have done that work, the communists and the left-wingers have been fighting me with every possible smear. When I received the nomination for the vice presidency, I was warned that if I continued to attack the communists in this government, they would continue to smear me. And there you have it. There they were, the smearers right in my midst. And they weren't just smearers, like I was trying to explain. They were doing the work, whether they knew it or not, of the communists. I had taken down one big kingpin communist named Alger Hiss back in my days in Congress, and now these men running from cars and waving signs were looking for revenge. It was a new front in the Cold War. What a man needs at a time like this is a strong boss who bolsters you, tells you things will be fine, like a good football coach who is stern but gives you a pep talk at halftime to get through the rest of the game. But what do I have? General Dwight D. Eisenhower, one supreme commander of the Allied forces during the Second World War. I still remember the first time I saw him in a celebration parade when the war wound down. He was waving his hands and looking into the crowds with his piercing blue eyes and giving them that warm grin he had. And I remember just getting a shiver up my back. He looked strong but also kind, but now he had grown aloof on me. Here I am wondering if I'm going to remain the vice presidential candidate, and here's Ike halfway across the country sending out all these mixed messages to the media. He was sounding like some bank manager with stiff arms who couldn't make up his mind about a loan. When he heard about the fund crisis, he said, "I intend to talk with Dick at the earliest time we can reach each other by telephone." But then he didn't call me for days, just kept me hanging, saying he wanted to see where things headed, kept pushing all of this into my table. Maybe it seemed that he was too damn busy to take the time to talk it out with me. I bet he's talking to other people, that's what I thought. There's that damn circle of men, some of them his golfing buddies and fishing partners, sitting on the train. I can just imagine unloading all this crap about me. There was campaign manager Sherman Adams, blue-blood Eastern establishment type from New Hampshire, cold and chiseled face full of defenses. Sherm just clammed up, like he was hiding something from you, even though he knew full well there was talk about getting a replacement for me on the ticket at the time. Then there was the worst. Bill Robinson, publisher of the New York Herald Tribune and an old golfing buddy of the General's, who was getting his boys at the newspaper to call for my goddamn resignation, right there in the op-ed section. And I bet Ike's brother Milt, who went everywhere with the General, it seemed, was nodding his head at Robinson. Then there was Mr. Chapman of New York, code name for Tom Dewey, the failed presidential candidate and governor of New York, and the man who originally recruited me onto Ike's team back in spring. He liked me once, smiling at me with that little mustache of his that would stretch his face out and show the space between his teeth. But now Dewey was getting cold feet about the situation. Man could turn hard fast. Sometimes he seemed like a real phony. He'd call me up at odd hours and tell me I should quit and get off the ticket, kill my political career. What I can't get through to these guys is that I have a gift. Like I said to Tom Dewey on the phone, I know something about politics. What I didn't say is what I was thinking. I'm not sure Ike understands politics. It's his first time running for office, and he lacks experience in political warfare. Sure, the General could fight the big chess games over in Europe, moving huge battalions of men across maps of great expanse, but he sure as hell couldn't